Hello everyone and welcome back guys to episode 33, oh dearie me, of the Unnamed Motorsport podcast, where today, we called it last week, didn't we? If Saudi was going to be controversial, Abu Dhabi was going to be even worse. But, to be fair, a lot of the controversy wasn't directly caused by the teams, but yeah, Jamie and I both knew leaving Saudi Arabia last weekend, one of us would get here rather happy. The other would have to try and cry their way through an hour-long podcast this week for you guys. So, yeah, unfortunately, for now, I've pulled that short straw. I still choose to believe.
You're actually holding out hope. I've heard rumours they're cancelling all the protests.
I've heard rumours that Hamilton is trying to get them to cancel it, but I can't see them cancelling it yet. I think, as much as anything, and Mercedes will want to take this to court.
It won't affect the result of the championship, though. Not at all.
That I think is a lot less likely,
I'm fully
unfortunately.
of that opinion. But
yeah,
I'm very happy, obviously. Episode 33 is simply lovely. But
I'm going to hate this. Oh, dearie me. Dearie me. The thing is, as well, like, for me, I'm not even mad at Max.
Well, he did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong in that situation. And this is why this is going to be such an odd and confusing podcast to record, isn't it? As well. Just, yeah, strap yourself in. Anyone that's here already knows what happens. But, yeah, obviously Jamie and I are going to talk through it here today for you. But, yeah, before we got into the weekend, though, of course, we had sort of all the controversy from Saudi Arabia that, of course, we spoke about last week. Obviously tied on points heading into the final race of the year, and you think, all week, Jamie, how have you been all week?
I was just trying to avoid thinking about it, to be honest. I was like,
yep.
just focus on the rest of my life. And then come Sunday morning, I didn't even watch quali. I was at a football
Did you not?
match. No.
No, right, yeah.
So, I was like, do not think about this until Sunday. And then, yeah, it was all good. I felt sick throughout the whole race as well.
Oh, yeah, it's just horrendous.
It's not.
Absolutely
I can't imagine
horrendous.
how the drivers are feeling, because, like, we're just fans, and I guess they're more used to the pressure, and they're paid to deal with that sort of thing. But, like, yeah, it was not a good week before that point.
No. And the thing is, I think a lot of the drivers, obviously, they're all focused on what they're doing. They're like, a lot of them have said, we're not worried about who comes out on top at the end of the day. We've got our own job to do.
Yeah.
Still, which is completely fair. But obviously, before the weekend even kicked off, Michael Massey had already confirmed or /warned that points deductions would be put in place if they felt like someone had deliberately caused a collision during the Grand Prix. First thing I want to talk about, Jamie, though, before we get into the nitty-gritty, what were your thoughts on the track changes?
I really like them. I think it gave, it's just the flow was so much better. I think the best changes actually were Sector 3. Like, not even the major ones,
yeah.
just opening up every corner, basically. Just to be a bit more like you can follow, and it's not just 90 degrees. Especially the second last corner was, flat out in the F1 cars now.
Yes,
have to admit, I did completely forget about the straight lining the first chicane until I watched F2 qualifying, and they're, all going straight on. But
yes.
But, yeah, it was good. I think, everyone hates Abu Dhabi. I think it's obviously it's a state-of-the-art venue, and the track is perfectly acceptable now, I think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about it, to be honest, because it's kind of a very odd circuit now, in the sense of there's really, 2 truly low-speed corners now? And that's at turn 5 and turn 6, or turn 6 and turn 7, the chicane, at the end of the back straight. Watching the qualifying laps and everything like that, weirdly, I now am sort of looking at the changes going, I liked most of them, but I feel like the cambered corner, they could have done more with it to make it a proper overtaking place again.
I quite like how, especially it was more so in F2 than F1, as it always is, really. Just the ability to take different lines and different... you can run side by side really easily through there, which was really cool in the lower formula. And then ideally, you can be then side by side towards the triple right, and that's a good braking zone as well.
Yes, yeah. And I think, obviously, again, if you sort of implemented what I'm talking about, you probably wouldn't get then that little bit of potential in towards the next couple of corners. It's just really odd, isn't it? Like, most of the track, I completely agree, definitely works a lot better. But I can't just help but feel like, the banked hairpin, slightly, potentially, there could be a lot more done with it still.
Yeah,
but
I think their hope is just get alongside with DRS and then run through that corner side by side, and it'll be exciting for the next couple of corners as well. But
yes,
I quite liked it. Then definitely overall, it's a better circuit now for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely, miles better than the old track was. But yeah, I think the good thing as well, isn't it? They spoke for so long about how Abu Dhabi spent like $1 bajillion on trying to build making an island, putting a racetrack on it. I mean, to be fair, a lot of the racetrack is just the worst nightmare. Who builds a racetrack around the grandstands and things like that? You build the racetrack and then sort out everything else. But yeah, it's nice though to see they spent so much money on the track in the first place that now they're willing to actually spend some money on making it a better racetrack.
Yeah.
But there's still things that need tweaking, I want to say. I wonder as well, to be honest, if there's too many off-camber corners. You need a few more on-camber. Yeah. I think if, the two corners under the hotel, obviously there's only so much you can do with them, I'm well aware. But
if
I think
they were, banked, that'd be sick.
Yeah, exactly. If you sort of had a bit of banking through there on...
They'd obviously flat out if you had a decent banking as well.
I mean, you need a lot of banking for it to be flat out, but potentially, there's still a few things that could be made a little bit better. Quickly, though, I think, before we dive into, obviously, again, all the Formula 1 talk, Formula 2, Oscar Piastri finally crowned as the F2 champion, Rookie of the Year, Driver of the Year, Champion of the Year, deserves the F1 seat of the year.
We don't talk about that here. I'm happy for Zhou. Zhou did a very good job of it this weekend. Not quite as good as Piastri, but...
No. Basically how you describe Zhou all year.
He drove capably well enough to deserve an F1 seat. But I'm very much of the opinion that they both deserve a seat, obviously. But unfortunately for Piastri, it's not the one this year. But his time will come. I'm almost certain he'll be replacing Alonso at the end of next year.
And Alonso said he wants to go longer, doesn't he?
Well, you're replacing one of them. I don't care. They've got to get him in one of their cars next for 2023.
Yeah, sure. And I think maybe we could see again. There's always these talks, isn't it, of if Hamilton goes, would Mercedes bring back Ocon at some point down the line? If
Hamilton goes, they're getting Verstappen straight away.
Would you want Verstappen and George? It depends how well George is doing, I suppose. Yeah, and then that could be a way. Obviously, we get Piastri, and again, this has been another ongoing theme throughout the entire year, isn't it? Alpine need a junior team. Renault should have stayed, and Alpine should have been a junior.
Yeah, because I think good academy.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd had Zhou and Piastri in your Alpine team next year, that would have been an interesting lineup. They probably would have spent a lot of the year battling it out with Haas. There's no denying that. Yeah, but it's still would have been good.
That's how Ricciardo started. The Toro Rosso used to be just pointless and at the back.
Well, HRT he originally wasn't he? Yeah. But, Piastri, though, again, once he'd wrapped up the title, he decided, he'd just have a bit more fun with it. I think that was safe to say. At least in Sprint Race 2.
Sprint 2 was a bit mad for him, to be fair. But you know what? Who cares? He's won a title. It's like league racing vibes, isn't it?
Exactly. Throwback to when I used to try and do last to first after I'd wrapped up season 12. But, I mean, he dominated the feature race, though, which was good to see. What's that, 4 feature race victories in a row or something ridiculous?
Was it 4?
Which was an F2 record?
I think it was.
I thought it was 4 in a row, but he'd had 5 on the year, I want to say.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Which, I mean, dominating... There's only 8 feature races all year, and winning 5 of them is kind of insanity.
And Joe won 2 of them, so...
yeah, it has really been a dominance display from Oscar Piastri this year. And if he doesn't... I mean, we're going to be constantly reminding everyone next year about it as well, I'm sure, throughout the podcast. But if somehow Piastri doesn't get an F1 seat down the line...
He's got to in 23, surely.
He's got to, surely. Interesting talks from Robert Schwartzman as well. It looks like it's not been confirmed yet, has it? But his Formula 2 time is up.
Yeah, he's off to the Ferrari supercar stuff, isn't
he? Yeah, like I've said all year. Put him in the LMPH programme. I think is certainly the way to go for him. But again, does he deserve an F1 seat? He spent the same amount of time as Guan Yu Zhou in F2, and he's still come out... I think he's been on...
less season.
Has he done one less year?
Yeah.
I thought Schwartzman came in the same year as...
No, Schwartzman
No,
was
he
a
did
rookie
come in the
last
year after, didn't he? Was he a rookie? Yeah, no, he was, wasn't he?
Wait, was it? Actually, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, he was.
No, I think he was.
Yeah, because he was teammates with Mick, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and I sort of looked. Yeah, I looked at Schwartzman obviously because he did really well in the first weekend, didn't he, in Austria? And I looked at him and go, right, well, he's the new Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
And then it's just never
it's just
quite...
that quali pace hasn't really worked. Like, he's very good in the sprints. Like, he's good at overtaking, but he's never had a pole in F2 in his 2 years.
No.
It's a bit bad. So...
Yeah, bless him. But I still think he had potential to get to
if there were enough seats, then for sure get him in, but...
Richard, for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a really bad joke.
Mentioning the Dutch drivers, we'll be doing that again later.
I don't think there's anything to talk about the Dutch, is there? I mean, Bent Viscal didn't do a lot.
No, he didn't, actually.
No. But, yeah, I think I'm just really excited for F3 and F2 next year.
Oh, Dennis Hauger. We're going to be behind him.
We are going to be on the Dennis Hauger hype train, boys. It's going to be so good. But yeah, let's get into the serious stuff then, Jamie. Qualifying first of all then. I watched the end of Q2 and Q3.
Admittedly, I was still at work whilst I was watching it.
But yeah,
it was Sterling take a penalty, so
did he? Oh yeah, I saw you were like one of 6 people at the Etihad.
Yeah.
They never get any fans in, do they?
No, that's why I get free tickets. It's good.
You get free tickets?
Sometimes, yeah.
I thought it was just heavily discounted.
No.
Oh god, they really are desperate, aren't they?
So I didn't watch quality at all. I saw Max made a mess of his Q2 a bit and had
yes,
to go on the softs was the main talking point. But then also the main talking point was getting pole by a long way on that first
3/10. Yeah. 3/10 in the end. And what was weird for me watching Max's lap was, don't get me wrong, it was pretty much perfect. But it didn't look like a typical Max Verstappen balls to the wall qualifying lap.
I guess Abu Dhabi isn't, because as you were saying earlier, there's not that many heavy braking zones, which is where he usually takes those aggressive lines and stuff.
But there's a lot of high-speed corners.
Yeah, it's just smoothness in it. I guess maybe he adapted his style a bit to not do what he did in Jeddah.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people said, wasn't it, Red Bull tweaked the car for qualifying a lot. It looked so much better than Mercedes in Friday on race runs. Saturday rolls around, suddenly they're rapid in qualifying, yeah, like we saw obviously on Sunday. Red Bull definitely were lacking pace.
Yeah, they didn't have the race pace at all to match Mercedes, but
no, exactly. But yeah, so obviously we saw Max Verstappen pole position, Hamilton P2, Lando Norris. Yeah, he's been in hiding since Russia. Adamant he's still not going on to some intermediate tyres. Finally came back good this weekend.
Well,
in qualifying.
He did, yeah. To be fair, he was doing well in the race until he got bad luck again. But yeah, McLaren have been really weird this year. Like, they've been super good at some races, like genuine race-winning pace. Obviously, we saw it won, so they could have won that race anyway.
Well, they did win that race,
they did win it, but they could have won it without the crash.
Well, like we said, wasn't it? Lando Norris could have easily won 3 races in a row when Formula 1 came back after the summer. Oh, sorry, no, 3 and 4 even.
3 and 4,
obviously, because Zandvoort, yeah.
Well, he should have won Russia. He should have won Belgium if he didn't bid it in quality.
Well, he would have won Belgium, likely, yeah. And then, of course, Monza, he should have. I mean, he would have overtaken Ricciardo had there not been team orders in place. But, yeah, what I always think's weird as well, when like, you look at the battle between McLaren and Ferrari over the year, McLaren were always the ones making the headlines, with the exception of Leclerc's 2 poles. But they didn't really end up coming to anything of particular note.
Ferrari have been way more consistent. I think
Ferrari have been Ferrari are looking like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. I think
it happens when they haven't got a championship-capable car?
I would think, I definitely know that Sainz had no DNFs at all this season.
Did he not have a single one?
No, he got 2 11th places, and the rest of them were in the points.
That's insane.
So he's done super well.
I thought he had one DNF. No, I'm thinking of Hungary where he'd been in qualifying.
And Leclerc had 2 DNFs, but one was Monaco where he didn't start, and the other one was Hungary where he got taken out. So
yes, yeah.
They're doing very well. I think, genuinely, I'm on that Ferrari hype train. Title challenge next year.
I'm wondering. Like we said, Ferrari are looking like a well-oiled machine.
It feels like Mercedes and Red Bull have put so much into this year.
You say that. I I think a lot of Mercedes was much more about learning the car. I think the pace was always theoretically there.
Yes, they've sussed it out by now, haven't they?
But it took them most of the year. It was a bit of a diva, wasn't it? It was a bit like Red Bulls of the past, to be honest.
They just suddenly become good at the end by working it out.
Yeah. Red Bull, I think, is going to be interesting with how much they've put into this year.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be interesting to see next time round.
But it'd be really cool if Ferrari are back up there. Like, I'm not a Ferrari fan historically, but I just like both their drivers now.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, isn't it, of neither of us are Ferrari fans by any means, and it's not the end of the world when Ferrari don't do well, for us too anyway. But there is something a little bit special about having a Ferrari in a championship battle. I think we can both agree on that. And you think if we can get them, Red Bull, Mercedes, all back there, McLaren could potentially be looking towards that as well.
Next season, but maybe we'll see. But yeah, very good race from Sainz as well. Very good season actually. One of the drivers.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll do definitely a tier list podcast at some point for all of the drivers as well. But yeah, are we going to get into it then, Jamie?
Yeah, let's do it.
let's do it then.
Only 15 minutes in, we're calm.
we're calm for now. So the scene is set then. Sunday, race day. Only one man can come out on top, and it's basically whoever outraces the other, isn't it? At the end of the day, whoever has got more pace, whoever's got more consistency, may the best man win. Max Verstappen on pole on a set of softs. Lewis Hamilton alongside him on a set of mediums. Really, I think we all sort of thought was... To be honest, after qualifying, I was quite happy that Hamilton ended up behind Max, considering he was on harder tyres.
Yeah, because you'd imagine that the softs would give a better launch, and they're side by side, and Verstappen just straight lines it. So, yeah.
But we saw what we've actually seen quite a few times in recent weeks, hasn't it? Max Verstappen, in the last few races this year, has struggled to get that car away on quite a few occasions.
You feel like it's pressure almost, because you don't want to... I guess the worst thing that can happen with starts is to stall it. So it's almost like you're going
to be hard pushed to with anti-stall.
Yeah, but even anti-stall was terrible. So I guess you kind of want to play it a little bit safe, so it's not the worst thing ever. So you're either P2 rather than like P20.
Yes,
so, yeah. I guess it might be a pressure thing. It might just be chance, because obviously starts are always a bit up in the air. But either way, yeah, P2, I was very disappointed, especially after 6-7 laps when Hamilton had a 5-second lead. It was not looking good.
No, but I think obviously Hamilton immediately jumps Max off the start. It was reminiscent. I don't know if you remember 2014, where he absolutely bolts it off the line.
Rosberg had engine issues, so we don't take that seriously.
Rosberg had engine issues later on in the Grand Prix, but remember. But yeah, I mean, so we see Hamilton up the inside. No real drama into turn one. Down obviously the hill first lap. We get to the back straight away. Max is about 40, 50 metres behind, 30, 40 by the braking zone.
50 metres, you're right.
It was about 30 before the braking zone.
Yeah.
It was 50 on the straight, about 30 obviously once the slipstream has helped him get a little bit closer. And he absolutely goes for it on lap one of the 58 lap Grand Prix.
I was shocked that he went for it that early.
I was not shocked, I was just disappointed.
I think he probably knew that the Mercedes was going to be quicker on race pace. So it was either get track position right now, because obviously this is going to be his best chance for a while, or you're coming second almost. So I'm at the time I was like, why is he doing that? That's ridiculous. But looking in hindsight, I can see why he went for it. And actually, he did get it slowed down. I know we're going to disagree on this, so we might as well get it out of the way immediately. The rules that the FIA have set out this year, you think of any of them really. So Hamilton did it in Jeddah in the last corner. What else? Norris has done it plenty of times where you have the apex, you're ahead at the apex of the corner, and you run your opponent off the road. They have to give that place back. I don't think it's good racing, but the rules that the FIA have used all season, Hamilton should have been told to give that place back, or at least give the advantage up and let go side by side or something, which he didn't.
I was surprised they let Hamilton get away with the advantage he
did gain 1.5 seconds out of it.
It wasn't quite that much by the end of the first lap. It was only about 7-8 tenths.
Still,
but
it was, and they were going with the mantra that he's given up the advantage. It's fine, when they were literally side by side, and he's now ahead. So it's
I think that for the way I sort of read it and the way I view it is they wanted Hamilton to have the advantage he had when he hit the brakes.
Before the braking zone, yeah.
Which was about 4/10. But I can completely understand as well. First of all, like you said, I was quite surprised they thought the margin was fair. On the other hand, I can completely understand why they're probably thinking, we don't really want him being just 4/10 ahead if Max is going to do that lap after lap after lap. I think they just wanted that to be an issue that was immediately out of the way.
Yeah, and I think the stewards didn't want to get involved in racing. They've seen it recently, like Brazil obviously was the big one, but they are very reluctant, or have been very reluctant to interfere, especially in Jeddah as well. They left it for so long before doing anything.
As we saw towards the end of the year, very quickly became quite a bad problem.
Yeah, because you can get away with anything, apparently.
Yeah, there's gotta... we'll talk more about this, obviously later on. We'll discuss this more. But there is definitely gotta be a lot of long nights back at the FIA looking at rule changes.
In the FIA at the minute, so...
Because this is not going to be a problem that gets any easier with time.
No.
But, yeah, so obviously end of lap 1, though, Hamilton's got a small advantage. And then, to my surprise, Jamie, I thought, they'd stay close for a few laps. Hamilton, on harder tyres, just starts pulling a few tenths each lap.
I think the Merc had better race pace, and obviously after about 3 or 4 laps, this medium's going to be equally as good as the softs, if not better already.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't surprised that he had the gap, but I thought Max would stay with him a lot better. Because we've seen it I was thinking in France quite a lot, where like Verstappen stayed that 3 to 4 seconds back, and then undercut him. But here it was like it just didn't plateau. Hamilton just kept gaining by little every lap.
Yes,
so I was so not confident at all.
And I think
it's over, it's done.
Yeah, you could tell by the way Hamilton was driving as well that this was one of those weekends we see from Lewis Hamilton that only happens 3 or 4 times a year at the very most. And we probably haven't seen much in more recent years because he hasn't needed to. Where he's just decided, I'm plugging away all day long and no one's getting a look in at this.
He was on it. He was very, very good.
And this was... it couldn't come at a better time for Lewis Hamilton as well.
No. But I think he did it pretty similarly in Brazil as well. He was like, I am not losing this race. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, obviously the first 2 laps sort of tick by. We get to lap 14, I want to say it was. And of course, Max Verstappen does make his pit stop about where we expected the Pirelli, everyone thought they would. And rather predictably, of course, Hamilton just covers him 1 lap later. By that point, he had, about 7-8 second lead. Verstappen lost a little bit of time getting stuck behind Carlos Sainz, who, like we said, did a brilliant job all day long. So Hamilton, obviously once Max has got past Sainz on like lap 17, lap 18, he's got about an 8 or 9 second lead.
Yeah, it was big. It was not a good sign for my mental health.
No. Then we close up to Sergio Perez.
Oh, what a driver! Honestly, he did super well. I'm amazed because he was on 22 lap old. Was it that much? Yeah. It was super old soft tires. Obviously, Hamilton's on pretty fresh hards, and we see it all the time. We've seen Bottas and Raikkonen do it so many times over the years, where they just give a bit of dirty air, get DRS past, and then that's it. They can't do anything else. Perez absolutely did Hamilton in for a lap and a half. It's not illegal at all. Hamilton did it, or tried to do it to Rosberg back in 16 all the time through the last sector, just lifting off, slowing up as much as possible. I think Perez took it to a next level of how much he was
5 seconds in 1 lap.
But it was crazy good from Checo, and it's exactly what Red Bull haven't had with Gasly and Albon, because they're always a pit stop behind by the time Hamilton makes its first stop. But Perez absolutely proving why he got that seat, and fair play. And it was ridiculous defending.
It's a shame really for me, because I always used to love Perez, and now after that I've got nothing.
He did
nothing to like him for. Yeah, at the end of the day, as much as I wasn't a fan, obviously, of what was happening, I can completely appreciate. Sergio Perez earned his paycheck that weekend.
And the thing is, the way the race ended, obviously, it's spoilers, but if you're watching this, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, you definitely want.
The way the race ended, so many things fell into place for Max to win the title, and Perez defending and costing Hamilton 8 seconds was one of those things, because obviously later on when Max pit second time, without that bigger gap, Hamilton could have just covered him off the next lap, but then couldn't because Perez cost him 8 seconds. So all these little things throughout the race just really, really played into Max's hands, and I think fortune was on their side quite a lot yesterday, but it hasn't been throughout
fortune among other things. Among other things. But yeah, really, obviously, again, this race is going to go down as obviously one that we won't forget, whether for better or for worse. Kimi Räikkönen.
It was so predictable. I said it in the
it was always going to happen, wasn't it?
He's obviously going to have a technical failure and just retire.
But it's still... Yeah, heartbreaking. I mean, Kimi, he's not going to be one to care about it too much. But neither of us, again, we're not Kimi fans, are we?
No,
by any means.
I like him and I think he's funny, but
Yes, yeah. But that's not the way a man with 349 Grand Prix starts deserves to end a career.
Because I know he doesn't care. So when... I think it was Button... had a failure in his last race, or Abu Dhabi when it was supposed to be his last race.
I was going to say, he took out Verline in his last race, didn't he?
But I was sort of quite sad for him, and Massa especially, when it was meant to be his last Brazilian Grand Prix
his first retirement, yeah.
But both of them are really emotional people, Massa more so than Button, I think. But so them not having the chance to finish their final races is a shame, but and you actually feel bad for them. Kimi, I was so indifferent. I was like, oh, you won't care at all.
Oh yeah, I know he doesn't care, but it still was there. I wanted to see him have a proper send off. I think at the end of the day,
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
it was probably up there with David Coulthard's last Grand Prix.
Oh yeah. Well, he's got the record for most Grand Prix starts, second most starts for Ferrari. I think he's top 3 for most podiums, or is he top 4 for most podiums or something?
I think he's a little bit lower than that.
But yeah,
nowadays
he's had an incredible career.
Oh,
deserve
definitely.
More than one title. One's definitely fair, but probably could have got a second one somewhere as well.
He probably deserved at least one at another point.
Yeah,
it's always 2003 and 2005 are always the big what ifs, isn't it? Because Kimi won 9 of 17 races in 05, didn't he?
Yeah, just didn't finish the other one.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, so Kimi, obviously heartbreak. It was brake by wire failure, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah, brake failure.
So just down into the wall at the end of the back straight. Managed to somehow get it out of there and actually get it back to the pit lane.
I was so hoping for a safety car just to spice it up, but unfortunately got it going.
George then with more heartbreak, 1 lap later.
Yeah, I don't know what failure. Didn't it lose drive?
Yes, yeah, gearbox.
Brought it back to the pits, obviously, to not annoy Mercedes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another retirement for a driver in his last race for the team. But he's probably not bothered either.
Yeah, not bothered by that.
Near points, so.
No, exactly. Yeah. Then, of course, a few more laps went by. I want to say about another 10 laps, wasn't it? And Giovinazzi suddenly has issues as well.
Yeah, which was very helpful.
Can you remember Giovinazzi's problem? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Was it? I think it's power unit related.
Yeah, this was about lap 40, wasn't it?
I was very, very downbeat at this point until Giovinazzi retired.
Yeah, didn't do a very good job either.
He parked so far away from the orange entry point for the marshals, so they had to put the VSC out.
It had already broken down before it even got to the hairpin. Surely you just go straight off there and just loop round to somewhere.
Yeah, because it was still moving. You could have just gone on the left-hand side of the track or something, but I don't care. It got a VSC out, so it gave us something to get excited for.
And yeah, this is the start of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, it must be said there as well, Toto Wolff, probably I can understand why he said it, why he got on the radio to Massey, but it wasn't in great taste.
No, and I like the FIA radios, and I think the FIA have enough integrity to make their own decisions, but yeah,
if Red Bull pay them enough.
Shut up. But yeah, it's I don't like the team bosses try to influence real-time decisions that are happening, because it was obvious that they needed a VSC.
Yes, yeah.
They couldn't have done anything else.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, this is where the race starts to just get a little bit more interesting, isn't it? Max Verstappen, of course, pits under the VSC. Never really understood why people gave Mercedes stick for that. Had they pit, Max wouldn't. It's as simple as that.
And there's no point risking, because obviously, if Hamilton has to overtake Max, it's basically done. Because Max is just going to do something.
People don't understand. No. Red Bull would have just said, you do what he doesn't do.
What I quite didn't
always gives the car behind an advantage.
What I didn't quite get was the next lap, the VSC was still out, and they didn't take the risk, because obviously it could have ended when he was in the pit lane. But
it ended as he was coming into the final corner. It was already confirmed to be ending, before he got to the pit lane entry.
It would have been a risk not worth taking, but yeah.
Exactly.
It put Verstappen on much fresher tyres, but still the hards. And it was, 17 seconds back?
17, 18, roughly, wasn't it?
Had to get
with
about
20 laps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first few laps, he was getting decent. It was 6-7 tenths each time.
It was moving around, wasn't it, a bit? One lap he'd take 8 tenths out of him, the next he'd take 4 or 5.
So I was getting excited. I thought it might have been on, and then it got to about 12 seconds-ish, and it just sort of plateaued again.
Yes, sort of with 10 laps to go.
Sad again, and then...
Well, you're sad. I'm thinking...
This is done. You've got 7 laps left or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh my god, I might just be watching the perfect race to win a world championship.
Yeah, and then you did watch it.
No, I did not. And then, of course, it all kicks off. Yeah, Mick Schumacher and Nicholas Latifi having a little bit of a battle.
Mick, for 15th.
They're battling legitimately for last place in the Grand Prix. I cannot stress that enough. Latifi then gets forced out wide, gets a little bit of dirt on his tyres, but let's be fair, let's not beat around the bush here. Drops it.
It was a driver
going through the final couple of corners. It was completely driver error. It wasn't a puncture or anything like that. It was a fair mistake to make in this situation, because you mean that Williams is a bit of a dog. I completely am against putting this on Latifi.
Plenty of people made that mistake in practice.
Yeah, so. By no means am I trying to say Nicholas Latifi
race fixing.
Caused any of this. And this was again another thing I wasn't happy with after the Grand Prix of Christian Horner saying he's going to get a lifetime of Red Bull.
Why are you not happy with that? That's clearly just
because I'm sure Latifi didn't get much sleep last night thinking about that. And you sort of think
would have absolutely been giving him all sorts of stuff on.
Oh yeah, he's had to take down the post saying farewell to George on Instagram because of that much hate on it, which I'm completely against. No. And then safety car gets deployed,
which they also had to do.
5 laps to go. There's a car stranded in the middle of the road, and then
I'm very excited. Obviously, it looks like, they've got 5 laps.
Safety car comes out. Max pits again. Obviously, again, if Hamilton pits, Max just takes the lead. There's no other way.
The car was going to come in either, so it's not like it would have just been giving it away a championship if Hamilton had pit, because Verstappen could have stayed out and then finished the safety car.
Exactly. Mercedes, I don't think strategically made any errors.
People were hating on James
this race.
Stuff. They couldn't have done anything more, because it was just risks not worth taking.
No, exactly. But 5 laps to go. Latifi's car's starting to get moved off the circuit. They're starting to sweep up. 4 laps to go. Most of the field is now bunched up. 3 laps to go. They've sorted out most of everything they needed to with Latifi, haven't they?
Yep.
2 laps to go. Lap 56 of 58. The team, it's confirmed, no one will be allowed to overtake under the safety car to try and get their lap back.
5 lap cars between Hamilton and Verstappen. So
there's 4 lap cars between Hamilton and Verstappen, and plenty more down the field.
And
aren't there?
Yeah, and it would have been, had they not let lap cars through, it almost impossible, I think, for Verstappen to side his way through the
I think, by the time Verstappen would have got past the lap cars, Hamilton would have been close enough to sector 3.
Yeah.
That Verstappen wouldn't have been able to do anything. Or if he had, it would have been like an absolute send.
Yeah.
But even then, obviously, Hamilton would have had a big enough gap before he would have crossed the line, 2.5, 3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway. Because he would have just gone as early as possible.
Yeah.
2 laps to go. It's confirmed. Cars won't be allowed to overtake under the VSC. A lap and a half to go.
Later.
for whatever reason...
Because it's F1, you've got to have a
No, don't give me because it's F1. I'm sorry. You cannot argue against the fact that was deliberately manipulated against the rules to fabricate a close finish.
The rules, the legislation that Mercedes were annoyed about you've got to let all of them through if you can't just let 5 through. The rules say the race director or the whatever it is, the clerk of the circuit, may allow cars to pass. It doesn't say he has to let all the cars pass. It doesn't say he doesn't have to let cars pass. It's all done so ambiguously, which isn't helpful. But in this situation, it basically gives Michael Massey permission to do whatever he wants.
In his eyes, Mercedes, like we said, are going to take this to court and
lose.
No,
Well, they might get some money off the FIA, but they won't change the championship outcome.
I don't think they'll change the champion. Yeah, they probably won't change the championship outcome, but the FIA and Michael Massey, have a lot of questions to answer for here. Because let's talk about sort of other things for a second with how that affected other people. Because again, obviously, we look at Hamilton and Verstappen. And obviously that was the big thing from the Grand Prix. But there were plenty of other drivers that were shafted by that. Carlos Sainz, theoretically, had something happened, he could have won that Grand Prix. Lance Stroll, like he said,
why
he
wouldn't
couldn't
have won the Grand Prix?
If Hamilton and Verstappen had come together.
Yeah,
Carlos Sainz could have been in a position to win that Grand Prix if he'd been close enough, or could have been in a position to take P2 off one of them. Lance Stroll, like he said, he watched 4 cars that he was around and could have been battling with over those last 2 laps get given half a lap over him for no reason. Sainz didn't know who he was battling anymore. He didn't know whether cars behind him were going to be able to overtake him or what. And just everything about it.
Fernando Alonso loved it. Did you
see
that?
I saw the clip. I actually watched the clip before you shared it.
The team radio thing.
It was very odd from Alonso. I couldn't quite.
Well, he was definitely on Team Max. So
yes, yeah.
It was like.
But I thought he was laughing at it. Yeah, I thought it came across to me like he was more laughing at it as to how ridiculous it was.
No, he was told. The message was telling him that they won't be able to pass. It was the first message.
Yeah.
And he was like, of course. And then.
Yeah.
And then he says, like, 5 cars between Max and Lewis, it should be none.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we love Alonso here. So.
No.
But I just think the situation that they were presented with, it was the best thing to do in that, I think. Like, had they couldn't have let it end under a safety car, which is what would have happened if they let all the lap cars through.
Why couldn't they let it under a safety car?
The whole world is watching. It would have been a horrific anticlimax. There's no way they were going to let that happen. I don't care if
sport sometimes.
But I don't care if it's Lewis leading or Max leading. Regardless of the situation, they would have done exactly the same thing. They had to give the climax. Like, at the end of the day, it's a business. We've said this so many times. They're going to...
Yes.
They've got to do what they think is best in the given situation, which was to restart the race.
But, on the other hand, let's just talk about quickly... As I think it was Dan, I can't remember what his name is on BBC, Dan Walker, is it? Yeah. Like he said, any sport, and you probably won't be particularly well versed in this, but I can tell you from sort of speaking from a bit more research and things like that. If you try to manufacture close results like that in a similar way to how NASCAR has tried to do in the past... very quickly you damage your sport far more than you build it up. And I think a lot of people... there's no doubt about it, no matter what happens in court come the end when it does finally get sorted out, there will be a huge asterisk over this championship.
Not over the championship, just over the race.
Which directly affects the championship.
But are you forgetting there's a huge asterisk over Verstappen's DNF when he got taken out in Silverstone and Hungary, where he came 9th because he got taken out? These things happen in F1. It's unpredictable.
Crashes happen in F1.
Yeah, Latifi
changing the rules around, because let's not forget, first of all, he only let some cars through, which never happens. You either let all the cars through. No.
It's not written in the rules you have to let all of them through.
It's also not very clear as to whether that means whether they don't let any cars through or all of them through. And also, let's not forget, if you let lapped cars through, it clearly states in the rules you have to give them a lap to close up.
But they asterisk that as well by saying,
of course they're going to. They massively messed up.
No, but the actual rules, the next rule down is like, in extreme circumstances, the race director can do what he likes, basically.
That's ridiculous.
It's in the rules, though. That's the problem. Like, I agree. If I was a Hamilton fan, I would be absolutely fuming. But it's not Max's fault. I'm going to absolutely take.
And again, I've said this before. It's not Max's fault. And
I think there'll be a massive change in the FIA from next year.
Oh yeah, they'll have to be. They'll have to be.
They have to show they've actually done something to change. But
the problem is, I think, for a lot of people, like, again, from most Hamilton fans here, I can say, we're not upset with the fact Max Verstappen won a world championship. It's the way he's been.
1 minute.
You're going to clip that, are you?
I just want to hear it again. Max Verstappen, world champion.
The problem with it is the fact that if, like I said to you before, if Max Verstappen had done what Hamilton did all day long and dominated the race, fair enough, bravo. He's been incredibly quick all year, has made very few mistakes. But the problem for me is Hamilton was robbed at the end of the day, and you cannot argue against that. Hamilton on that day deserved the championship.
In the same way as he got gifted a lap in Imola by a red flag when he would have finished like 8th.
That's always the rule, though.
Well, I seem to remember in, when was it, Baku 17, they had to repair Raikkonen and Perez's cars under red flag, let them go a lap early, and they got disqualified because you're not allowed to repair the cars under red flag.
It depends what parts you change, doesn't it?
Yeah. But still.
So they broke the rules, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think...
You just made a nil point.
Well, no. It like, luck happens. Things like...
What?
F1
That's just
so
breaking a rule and not breaking a rule.
No, but stuff like Imola, where Hamilton was 9th and got given a lap because his future teammate took out his current teammate, surprisingly. No one saw that coming, did they? And
because of rules already in the book?
They change the rules every 5 minutes in F1. Like all the flexi wing stuff, they change the tests all the time. Like, it's not new, and they change what is a legal move and what's an illegal move based on the gravel on the outside of the tarmac. It's like,
well, yeah,
we've seen all year that FIA have basically
constantly moving the goalposts.
So you can't just focus on this one event that's cost the championship, because all year they've been changing rules the whole time. Like, it doesn't null and void it, because they've been doing that for their whole careers. Like 1989, we were saying before the podcast, they disqualified Senna for using an escape road. Like, they've always been...
Another flagrant corruption attempt.
Like, this is just... If you're going to be an F1 fan, you've got to accept the FIA to have too much power and use it however they like, which is just how it goes.
But again, the problem with that very quickly becomes... And this is something else that I wanted to talk about quickly as well. Talking, obviously, from this podcast. We've had so many conversations recently, obviously, about like the rumours of Audi coming in. Surely you look at that yesterday and think, why on earth would we spend 200 million, well, not anymore with the budget cap, but you know what I mean, 135 million pounds a year if the FIA can just change things to create a more dramatic outcome? It doesn't make business sense to even want to risk that. It's made the sport look farcical. You can't deny that.
I wouldn't say farcical. I think neutrals probably enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean,
it wasn't a fair end to the race.
I completely understand your point of view. I do completely understand your point of view, and I also think if the roles were reversed, you would be having my point of view, to be honest.
I would still, again, I said this after Saudi Arabia. I wasn't happy with that race, even though Hamilton won.
But the last lap was incredible. I don't care how it came about. It was the moment of the best moment I've ever seen live in F1.
The problem for me with it is that last lap, had it been organic, yes, I completely agree, would have been incredible. In the same way the last lap of 2008 was incredible. But that's a bit like saying that it's going to be an incredible last lap somewhere, just because again, like NASCAR, where they do a competition caution. You can't deliberately try.
It wasn't manufactured.
It was manufactured.
They're allowed
that race should have ended under safety car.
Lapped cars through.
Yeah, and they have to give them a lap to catch up.
That's the one little thing that I can see why they're very annoyed. But the everything else, Latifi crashing is just that happens.
And Latifi crashing, yes, I completely agree.
The safety car comes out. They're obviously not going to end it on a safety car with the amount of attention that the race is getting. They just weren't going to do that ever, were they?
2012?
I genuinely think. Yeah, but the race was done at that point. It wasn't coming down to it. Like,
it was only decided a couple of laps beforehand.
Yeah, but Vettel was already...
And you could argue that this race was done beforehand. Lewis was 12 seconds in the lead.
But Max, there's one position change and Max wins the title. Like,
yeah, and if Seb had lost one, or Alonso had lost one place...
Lead, I guess,
yeah. There's only one place that decides it.
There was literally a whole car still on the road. It was like the second last lap rather than 5 to go. They had the opportunity to restart it. They were obviously going to.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. You're trying to clutch at straws there.
How am I clutching? I've won the title. I'm not. Verstappen's on the title. I don't care. You're the one clutching at straws.
You're clutching at straws. They're going. But they are. They just are. You think they've
Hamilton,
got to?
I fully respect. By the way, what a guy.
Yes, that's something else we must talk about after the race, because you have to agree here as well. Had that been the other way round, Max Verstappen would have not been that.
I think Max would have been gracious in the lap.
Saudi Arabia?
Saudi, he hadn't lost the title. The title was still up for grabs. I genuinely think at the end of seasons, we see it all the time, you get toxic battles for the championship. Right at the end, when the final race is done, they usually are quite nice. Like we saw Rosberg. Rosberg in 14 was, Hamilton in 16 was. Like, as bad as the relationship is right at the end. I don't think Christian Horner would have been nice, but I think Verstappen in that moment would have been like fair play, especially if it had been a normal end to the race.
If it had been a normal end to the race, I think, yeah, he would have been fine. But that's what I'm saying. If it had ended the way it did, with the roles reversed, there is no way Verstappen would have acted the same way.
I really like
Hamilton
as well
did.
how both drivers just think the FIA are against them. It's so bad.
It's worrying though, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's 1 second. Like when I think it was on the radio, they were like, "Oh, lap cars won't go past to Max," and he was like, "Oh, of course, typical." And then they say to Lewis, "Oh, lap cars are going through." It's like, "Oh, of course, it's manipulated."
Yeah.
Both of them are just have
and
such
the thing
victim
is,
mentality.
You have to stick to the rules then, and either let all of them pass and give them a lap to catch
you can
up.
Do what you like.
Give them a lap to catch up.
And then that's
this is the problem with it.
In extreme circumstances. The problem is the rules are designed to be ambiguous to let the race director do what he wants. That's the problem.
To allow for corruption.
It's not corruption. We should probably get on with the important thing of Verstappen's overtake on Lewis Hamilton, which I haven't mentioned yet, into turn 5. Very good move. And yeah, held him off.
I mean, it was
lap.
A simple move, let's be fair.
It was a very simple move. It was nothing major.
I mean, the fact Hamilton still kept trying in towards turn 9. I mean, by that point, I know, bless her, my sister came in and watched the last, 10 laps, and she was like, Hamilton's still going for him, but he won't be able to do anything on the outside there. It was just, genuinely for me, the most heartbreaking thing I've seen in sport ever.
For me,
just due to everything around it.
The best moment of F1 I've ever seen live, for sure.
But if that happens at the end of every season, Jamie, it very quickly becomes very boring.
Well, it won't. It's happened once in 71 years that the drivers are tied on points and it's winner takes all.
It's happened twice in 71 years.
Well, no, because this is 72nd season, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, I suppose.
Because you count the first one. Come on.
Yeah. Do you? I don't. Fangio and it was Ascari that won the first one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Farina?
Was it? Yeah, was it Farina? Yeah, it must have been Farina. Yeah, he won the first 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the bigger thing we need to talk about here, isn't it? Is first of all, Massey's got to go.
I don't think he necessarily has to go. They just have to. They have to show that they're doing some action, not either be a dictator.
Massey has got to go, or there has got to be a dramatic reshuffle to the way it works.
I think that they will do something for sure. They have to show that they've done something. And whether that's massively doing his job or not, I don't know. But
this depends on what happens in court.
Really.
Yeah, exactly. Because I cannot genuinely see a situation where if it goes to CAS, they side with the FIA. I genuinely don't believe that's going to be the case.
I believe Lewis Hamilton will cancel the protest to be a good loser.
I think he'll argue with Mercedes in private about it, but I think Mercedes.
Well, he was the one who argued with them to drop the other one, which was pointless.
The safety car one, was always
completely
just
pointless.
it came across more of a formality that made sure Red Bull were going to be there as much as anything else, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, for me, whether it had been Hamilton or Max that came out on top, that is not the way a Formula 1 championship should be decided. By just bending rules at the last moment to make things close for the sake of it.
I don't know what to say to that. I think the circumstances of this one race were such extreme circumstances compared to an all race. You've got the whole world watching.
Oh yeah, and that's why you have rules in place.
But the thing
to
is,
make sure that things are consistent.
Don't make sense, which is, I think, I agree, has to be changed. But the rules.
When have we ever had issues with this before, with safety car protocol with lap cars?
I remember Monaco 2011. They were there was a safety car where the leaders were coming through the pack. They then called a safety car out. Obviously, I think it was like Barrichello was 11th, and as a driver in 10th, who Barrichello was effectively right behind, but because they just lapped Barrichello and not got to the next one yet, they then call a safety car out, and Barrichello loses a minute and 20 seconds on his rival and has no chance of making it back up because they didn't let lap cars through. Like, how's that fair? That's
sorry. They didn't let any lap cars through, or they just let 4 of them through?
No, they didn't let any.
Ah, okay, so they were consistent with that then. No one was allowed to unlap themselves.
But the rules don't say you have to do either none or all. That's just the precedent they've set. But we've seen so many U-turns from leadership generally, especially in FIA.
It feels to me like you're trying to justify the FIA making this decision, going, "Oh well, they've been inconsistent all year, so it's fine they're inconsistent again." That's
I
not
agree.
okay.
There is a major problem, but people focusing on this one single event that's decided the championship, when so many other things have happened previously. That this is just F1. It's unpredictable. Random events happen. Like Bottas loses his braking point into turn 1 at Hungary. Like Lewis got COVID last year in Saka, and what was it?
Saka barely know her.
Like, yeah, there's no way Perez should have won that race, but he did because luck happened and Hamilton was out the race and George forgot his tyres. Like,
yeah, George was the one putting those tyres on.
I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, we're never gonna fully agree on this.
Verstappen was lucky this race. So many little things. Obviously, Perez holding off Hamilton, Giovinazzi causing a VSC, Latifi causing a full safety car. Those 3 things all fell into place for the opportunity to arise for Verstappen to win the title. And yeah,
and the thing is,
the way the luck's gone this season, he deserves it. So.
I think the way this season's gone, they both have deserved it.
Whichever one won. We said it before last week. Like, either one of them deserves it. And Verstappen has driven phenomenally all season. So.
And Hamilton is now probably going to be known as a driver that's ran 3 of the greatest ever campaigns not to win titles.
Yeah.
2007, 16, and now.
Yeah.
Which is insanity when you think that he could have been... I mean, you look at it now and you say, hypothetically, had everything fallen into place, Hamilton could be, what, a 12-time world champion?
12? So, where are you getting 5 ones from?
So 7, 16, 21.
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
Finished 16 points back at the end of the year.
2012, I think.
2012 had McLaren built. That is by far and away the most stretched one. I completely agree with you.
Part of F1 is making the car that lasts the race.
Exactly. But then again, you bang on about Kimi Räikkönen should have been 05 champion for exactly the same reason.
I don't bang on about that.
No, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
11, possibly 12, which is...
But then also, you look at some of the titles he has won. Like, 08, he was a corner away from not being champion. Like, F1 is down to fine margins. Look, 2014 had the failure hit him instead of Rosberg in Abu Dhabi, then Rosberg wins that.
Hamilton had more failures that year.
Yeah,
for
I agree.
most part.
2014 was fair, but like had one extra bit of luck fallen Rosberg's way that year, then
exactly. And this is the thing,
like,
isn't
it's
it?
all hypothetical. Schumacher could have won like 6 more. I've made that off the top
Hey,
of my head.
I was going to say 2006. 97 had he not turned in. I said 06, yeah.
Yeah.
And 97 had he not turned in.
99 had he not broke his leg.
Yeah, 99. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he stayed, actually, if he didn't retire, he would have won 07, 08 as well.
Bearing in mind, remember, Ferrari got rid of him, not the other way round.
I don't agree with you on that, but
it's well-known knowledge that Ferrari already wanted Kimi. I will quite happily find you an article. But
here we are. It's the end of the season.
It's the end of the year.
Verstappen's world champion. I keep saying it.
I know you do, and I keep choosing not to listen.
I'm very, very happy.
The thing is, like I said again, like this isn't from me anger directed towards Max. It's completely against the FIA. The way Max has driven this year has been questionable at times. I don't think you can argue against that. And
maybe as much as Hamilton's been questionable.
I think he's been more for the most part. Hamilton, don't get me wrong, has had a couple of dramatic moments. But let's not forget, had Silverstone been the other way around, there's a fair chance both those cars would have made it through the corner.
Yeah, but Verstappen's not going to let him through, is he? Like, he left a car's width is what you have to do. We've spoken about Silverstone so much. I saw, by the way, Nico Rosberg, absolute goat on the analysis.
Yeah.
He's so good. And he actually, I posted a link to it in our chat earlier. Rosberg did like a quick analysis of all the, basically every wheel-to-wheel action of Verstappen Hamilton this year. And he said, categorically, Hamilton was at fault in Silverstone. Verstappen's going into that corner, leaving a car's width. Hamilton misses the apex and hits Verstappen. That's how it went. So
yes.
We agree with Nico Rosberg.
On the other hand as well, you got to remember there's been plenty of situations this year where Hamilton has still had to back out because Max hasn't left a car width. Spain, Imola, Abu Dhabi.
That's Hamilton choosing to finish over a crash. But he's not. He doesn't have to. If they crash, Verstappen gets a penalty. But that's, again, the problem with the FIA.
Yeah, and this is, again, I think...
Like, Max has driven until Jeddah, basically, or Brazil, I guess, as well, should have been a penalty. But he's driven within the rules that are set out. And if there's a problem
with the rules, where the problem lies, isn't it? Because there's been far too many questionable moments this year.
But it's been a great season. It's been one of the best seasons I can remember.
It's certainly, been... And again, this is the problem, isn't it? I think one of the other things that's annoyed me is... This should be remembered as one of the best seasons ever.
And it will be.
And I'm sure down the line it probably will be. But that's not the way... This is not the way it should have ended. This shouldn't be how a lot of people are feeling. I'm trying to think of the right words, I know. This shouldn't be the way a lot of people are feeling come the end of it. I think is the problem, isn't it?
I'm feeling great.
I know you are. You've made that very clear today. And I'm not, funnily enough, as you might have just worked out. But, yeah, that's it.
Max is going to use number 1 next year. So
if he gets to keep hold of it.
Oh, come on. What else? Oh, Carlos Sainz is... Oh, we said that already.
Carlos Sainz,
He's incredible.
I mean, like I said, we'll definitely do a driver ranking list over the winter break as well.
Oh, AlphaTauri did good.
AlphaTauri, 4th and 5th. Sonoda was on it all weekend.
Sonoda was class all weekend, to be fair.
21 for 1 in qualifying. You got that one back. He didn't get completely whitewashed, which was good to see. But yeah, I think, to be honest, for me, Jamie, and I don't know whether you're the same right now, I'd sort of love to talk a bit more about other things next week once sort of some of the emotions are a bit less raw still. But what I can say, I know I said this a couple of weeks back as well. First of all, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk about the season with you as well. Yeah. We picked a really good season, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the thing is as well, at the end of the day, I'd like to agree, for the most part, we both know wheel.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
we're quite sensible in terms of our takes, usually.
Yeah, so. For the most part. We might not always agree, but we... There we go.
Next race, he's on the grid. We love it.
Alfa Romeo, what a downfall. What an absolute downfall. It worries me that Guan Yu Zhou could... Yeah, that was quite funny. I'll give him that. Toto Wolff doing a crowd surf as well.
Oh, yeah. That was so weird.
That was like the weirdest out of context thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it'll certainly be one that's remembered in the history books, I think it's safe to say. Yeah. Again, thank you for being here for the whole season as well. Like we said, the podcasts certainly aren't going to stop over the winter break. Obviously, we've got plenty more things we want to do as well. Talking about the real world of Formula 1. Anything to add before we round this one off then, Jamie? I think, next week we'll come back and do sort of like a proper season review, won't we?
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be probably a long one, although this has been pretty long as well, to be fair.
I think this one is going to be one of the longest ones we've done all year.
Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I have, because Max is world champion, so anything could happen. And I'm still enjoying it. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed. I don't know what else to say. I'm so happy.
You don't outro. You don't outro these, do you? You can tell.
Honestly, the team radio of Max with Alex Albon screaming at him first. I've played that so many times.
Oh God, I haven't even got back to watch race highlights still, man.
It's
honestly,
so good.
Honestly, but yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Nonetheless, whether you're a Lewis fan or a Max fan, keep it civil as well.
Just here for the ride.
We're here for the ride. We're here for the vibes as well at the end of the day. And as much as the F1 has screwed this over, I cannot deny personally for me, obviously the success of Formula 1 has very much changed the way I live as a person generally. Obviously with all the YouTube and things like that and the content creation this year as well.
Yeah, that's been incredible. Like, it's so mainstream. Real quick. Like, I had a Red Bull shirt on yesterday. So I was just, after the race, just walking around and out, and so many people were like, "Oh, did you watch the race earlier?" So it's so fun. It's not that really nerdy sport anymore.
And I've now got to wear a Max Verstappen Christmas jumper to work, which I'm absolutely gonna hate when that comes round. But
I bet you'll get a picture of that.
I'm sure there'll be a picture at some point. But thank you all so much for watching nonetheless. Quick shout out as well. I'm sure the guy that got that tattoo. That must have been... I mean, if he's not dead from a heart attack from everything that went on in those final few laps. But, yeah, a quick shout-out goes out to him, surely, as well. But thank you all so much for watching, nonetheless. Again, 33 episodes in. I'll be honest, like I know we've said it before, didn't we? I don't think either of us thought we'd actually make it this far, but just the nature of how good this year's been.
We picked a very good season to start.
Yeah, we've nailed that, haven't we, Jamie?
Yeah.
I mean, if every season that we do a podcast on is that good, then I think we're in for a good few years. But thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, we'll be back 95 days till FP1.
Guan Yu Zhou's fastest in that session.
Yep, and then never goes fastest again.